10-year-old trans model Noella McMayer, who has 2 trans parents, already a New York Fashion Week vet. So this story is absolutely disturbing. This is a 10-year-old transgender girl. So this is a biological boy who has 2 transgender parents. And I've talked about this on my main channel, this disgusting, frankly, phenomenon of it's not a lot of cases like this, but it's some cases, and you see it and it comes out of 2 trans people getting together, having a kid by whatever means they have it, and then all of a sudden, coincidentally, oh my God, the kid's trans too. This thing that afflicts like what 0.00002% of the population just so happens that everyone in the family has it, right? Right, because it was pushed on the kid by the parents, which is disgusting, by the way. Like, I am transgender and I'm, as for lack of a better word, as proud as possible of that. I'm not proud of it, but I have fully accepted it and I actually consider it to be to my benefit, as in like, I like who I am, basically. Long story short, I like who I am. I'm happy with myself. If people might not understand this, but if I could flip a switch, I don't think I would choose to not be transgender. You know, it's like a lot of transgender people have that question. Like, if I could change it, could I just be not trans? I wouldn't change it for the simple fact that I am who I am because of that. It's part of who I am, and it is what it is. However, if there is even a small chance that if I were to have children in the future through adoption, which would be probably the way I would do it, to be honest, that my kid is going to end up thinking they're trans because they find out that I'm trans, then I don't want to have kids. And that can seem like an extreme statement, but at the end of the day, despite accepting that I'm trans, I'm also very aware through a very personal lived experience here that being trans is fucking painful. And I'm on my other side of it now and I'm living a happy life. But before I was able to transition and be myself, it was very painful. Like, it was a lot of money to get where I'm at. It was a lot of anxiety. It was a lot of gender dysphoria, which you're not going to understand unless you have it, but it's very mentally crippling. And I found my personal way to deal with it and cure as much as I could of it. But that doesn't mean it's not a harder life for most people like me. So the idea that I would want my kid to be transgender as well, are you fucking crazy? No. Just like I would fully accept and love a gay child, but I'm not going to wish for my child to be gay. Why would I wish for like the path of most resistance for my child? Why would I wish for a harder life than needs to be? I would hope to God that my child would be as, for lack of a better phrase, normal as possible, in the sense that they just have a standard, beautiful, successful life with no anxieties about their sexuality or gender identity. Because people who have those issues, it's an issue, right? Like, it's an issue. And, you know, I just think this story is disgusting. So this is a 10-year-old transgender girl who is, you know, on the runway because, of course, the fashion industry, which we'll get into also in this podcast, such as Balenciaga, they have a thing about exploiting kids. So, you know, they just do. So these parents, I don't even know, are these both trans men? I don't know what this is or what they are, other than fucking demented for convincing an innocent child they're transgender when there is a 99.99999% chance it's not going to stick and it would not have come across organically or came about organically. So the idea is that they're saying that Noelle, the child, that's her name, right? Noella, you know, didn't really like boy clothes early on. Yeah, neither do a lot of feminine gay boys. They claim that they definitely didn't push her to be a girl. Yeah, fucking right. Look at this house. They have trans flags hanging in the house. They have the kid wearing trans flags. Like, it's just ridiculous. First of all, there's something to be said about making trans your entire identity. And I get that there is a tad bit of hypocrisy here because I make a living off being a very public trans person and I've made it a focal point of my YouTube channel. However, it's like, that's my job to talk about these issues. I'm honored that you guys want to hear me talk about these issues, but the whole like trans flags hanging across my house and like wearing like trans color, it's like, that's just like another trans tattoos. I've seen that a lot. It's like, Are you okay? Because shouldn't there be more to you than that? Like, I don't understand. This is a really, really sad story. It's just a bunch of pictures of this kid doing gay stuff, like as in like standing outside the Stonewall Inn, and it's like, come on, you're pushing this on your kid. So like what? The kid's 10. That means in 2 years they're gonna be on puberty blockers. That means a few years after that they're gonna be on estrogen. That means by 18 they're not gonna have a penis anymore. Like, the fact that anyone would want that for their child in anything but the most extreme circumstances is like mind-blowing to me. This is 100% child abuse. These parents are disgusting. I have no problem saying that. Here's another example via Libs of TikTok, who took a screenshot from this trans TikToker saying, me talking to my 4-year-old about gender and me low-key hoping for a trans kiddo as a trans parent. Fuck you. Like, the fact that this bitch feels comfortable enough to even post that on social media says something about where we're at. Because encouraging children to be trans has nothing to do with accepting trans people in general, right? Like, the average person, with some exceptions, obviously, I don't think has any problem with what an adult wants to do with their fucking life. Have at it. Of course, some do. You know what I'm saying? It's like not every political commentator makes that distinction very well when they're criticizing trans issues, that they're just talking about the kids. I think the ones that go overboard and are talking about the adults and an adult's right to do what they want with their body, it's like, calm the fuck down, especially since a couple of you has slid in my DMs. But that's beside the fucking point. This parent's disgusting, pushing on their kid. And there's this is child abuse, period. And we need to get accustomed to the idea of child abuse not necessarily looking like traditional child abuse that you might picture. There's also like pushing your kids into having a gender identity that results in them mutilating their body. It's also a pretty extreme form of it. So get used to recognizing that. Damn, I almost spilled some tea about people citing my DMs, right? That would have been a doozy. But I'm not going to do it because I'm a nice person. Here's a bit of good news. To me, at least. I know a lot of people are not going to feel that way, but whatever. Australian gender clinic reverses course on puberty blockers for minors. This is from the Post Millennial. And it's very interesting. I'll read some of this. A family court in Australia came to a surprising end recently when an expert witness for a gender clinic withdrew a recommendation for puberty blockers for a child who is in elementary school age. So what's very interesting is in all these other countries, Western countries, they're kind of reversing course on the guidance that children need to be on puberty blockers and hormones and surgery. Like, they're going backwards, right? Like Sweden, Finland, they've already pivoted away from it. There are clinics shutting down in the UK. And yet America is just going full steam fucking ahead. It's just crazy. I mean, you have the president pushing for puberty blockers, putting Dylan Mulvaney in the White House. That's still upsetting. That Dylan thing kind of came and went pretty quick, right? Kind of like the Colorado thing, because some unfortunate news came out about the person who did that. Unfortunate for the corporate press, at least. So you're seeing people reverse course on these mandates and the way in which they're handling these kids with gender dysphoria. But America is just pedal to the metal, like 180 miles an hour, like going for it. And it's fucking disastrous. It's just so disastrous. And so what you see in these other countries is them saying, yeah, this is going to end in something truly devastating, something like historically bad. We're going to just dip out now. And America's like, let's keep doing it. Who cares? It's nuts. Wisconsin parents sue school district for transitioning their daughter without their permission. More disgustingness that I'm supposed to be on board with because I'm trans. Fuck you. The parents of a Wisconsin's girl whose middle school, why can't I talk? allowed her to adopt a male name and pronouns without their knowledge or permission are taking legal action against the Kettle Moraine School District, whom they accuse of violating their parental rights. Yeah, so you have these teachers changing their kids' pronouns and names, and the parents don't even know. Sorry, I think, and she's a sixth grader. A sixth grader. Teachers, please stay the fuck out of parents' business. Parents have a right to be in your business, though, by the way, because you're teaching their kids. So it's actually not a two-way street. Like, you're there working for the parents, and you're working there to educate the youth, to teach them things like, I don't know, like math, reading, science, history, which you're also going to, you know, change and manipulate to your own political ideology, I'm sure. It's like you're not going to tell real history. But, you know, regardless, feel free. Keep telling, like, your fake history. Keep rewriting narratives to suit you politically. But, you know, maybe we'll let you get away with a little bit of that as long as you don't transition kids behind parents' backs. Socially transition, that is. So the parents then, this is the story, took the sixth grader out of this school district, and then quickly the girl desisted and was like, yeah, I'm not actually trans. You see that it might be environmental. This is the problem. I am transgender, and to my knowledge, it is not environmental, in the sense that I've had gender dysphoria since as long as I could remember. Transgender was not a topic that anyone in my family knew about. I was never told about it. I think the first time I learned what trans was maybe like 13, you know, watching Jerry Springer. And obviously it wasn't a great representation, right? It's like the girls are fighting. However, that's the difference, right? Clearly, this sixth grader is not actually trans because it disappeared the second you took her out of the environment that was convincing her she was trans. That means it's environmental. That means it's entirely possible for it to be pushed on the kid, which is what everyone with common sense and two brain cells rubbed together has been saying for years, at least as long as this sort of thing has been going on. At least since teachers took upon the mantle of being pro-LGBT. It's just so crazy. You know, it's like, I remember being in school and, like, here's a good example. My 8th grade teacher, Mrs. Cather. I probably shouldn't say her name. Whatever. I had mad beef with her because she was really rude. Like, she would say things that were very pointed at me. She would single me out in class. Like, she would say little things like, you belong in San Francisco. Like, funny, but, like, clearly, like, picking on, like, the gay kid, right? And that's not fucking cool. It's like, it's funny. Yeah, as an adult, that's a funny joke. But, like, it's not cool for the teacher to single out the gay kid in the class and put them at risk to being bullied by the kids, because you're giving the kids permission to do it too, right? So there's one end of it where you're getting bullied by the teacher. Pretty sure there's a happy medium between the teacher calling the kid an anti-gay slur and transitioning the kid, right? Like, do we have to just go full throttle on, like, now we're transitioning kids? It's demented. And good for these parents for taking this kid out of the environment. Imagine if the parents would have been quote unquote accepting and kept the kid in the school. Who knows if this kid wouldn't have ended up on puberty blockers, ended up doing hormones, ended up being a detransitioner interviewed on my podcast 2 years later. Like, this is how it goes. And to everyone who thinks that you shouldn't challenge someone's transgender identity or push back at all, yeah, if you don't know the person, keep your mouth shut. However, the importance of going to therapy or speaking to people who love you that push back on the idea when you're questioning if you're really trans are so fucking vital. I didn't have a lot of pushback, but the little bit that I did have made me think deeper about what I was doing and gave me the ability to make a more informed decision as an adult. Hey, if you guys enjoyed that short clip from the podcast, make sure you guys subscribe to this channel as well as my main channel and watch the full episode, which will be somewhere on the screen.